Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and it's been a while since we've covered a brand new faction, but here we are with a new Cathay faction known as the Dragon General, the Imperial Warden faction for Immortal Empires. So what this mod does is adds in a custom new legendary lord, which is also available as a lord for Miao Yin if you don't want to play as a faction, but also brings in a rather interesting campaign, a new experience. As you are aware, Cathay is mostly focusing around defense of the Great Bastion, but what if you took the fight up north? What if you actually took a force and decided to fight the forces as they came to you? What if you took their lands and just had something really different? Now, you also do start with some locations inside of Grand Cathay, and you're able to expand from there. But this campaign is something a little bit different, and there's a lot to discuss, so this mod review might be a little bit different to the usual format. Anyways, let's go into your faction effects known as Dragon General. So garrisons of the Great Bastion have been honed for a long time and have strong vitality. So your faction will receive less climate punishment in towns with chaotic wasteland climate. Then attrition minus 30% casualties suffered from Chaos Undivided Corruption and Chaos Waste attrition. Recruitment rank plus 3 for cavalry units, construction costs minus 50% for Great Bastion buildings, and finally leadership plus 10% when fighting against Demons of Chaos. And there's something there which I'm assuming is just general bonus to relations with the other Cathayan factions, as they generally favor you quite a lot. So you'll still have negatives in the Chaos Waste, and this is something quite important to note, but they are kind of less. You can see here it's minus 1 control, construction costs plus 15% for all buildings, casualty replenishment rate minus 4% for armies and region, construction time plus 25%, and income is still minus 7%. You're still going to have negatives, but it's not as much, and there's certain skills which will kind of help you with that anyway. So yeah, let's carry on. So obviously your new legendary lord has his own skills and everything, and this is the effects of his own trait as follows. Upkeep plus 10% for Lord's army. Don't worry, this gets better later. Campaign movement range plus 10%, armor plus 10 for Lord's army, unit mass plus 10% for Lord's army, and harmony plus 3 for Yang. So already it's pretty good. Your troops are going to be a bit more tankier, and you're going to need it because obviously you're going to be fighting with loads of enemies around the Chaos Waste, so it's a Chaos Warriors. So yeah, it's beneficial. It's a bit different. The character itself has access to a lot of items. At the very moment, all these items will have to be unlocked, barring the mount, with an extra skill point. So yeah, it's not automatically unlocked. This might change in the future, especially since this mod is still pretty much in beta form, and a lot of mods are going to be in beta form whilst we're still in the beta of Immortal Empires. But yeah, great effects all around. You're going to get tankier, you're going to have better casualty replenishment, you're going to be doing a lot of damage overall. And it does make the character just pretty strong, so yeah, it's pretty good. You have your own unique skill line as can be expected, and it's quite nice because it gives you the fan-made lore of the character. So as you progress, you can just read a bit of a story. It's nice, honestly. I like this type of thing. If you're going to create a custom legendary lord, and if you're going to give them loads of effects, which are really good, as you see as we're going through them, yeah, having a little bit of a story there actually makes them more believable, right, as a part of the Warhammer Fantasy world. Many of you will remember the custom battle reports that used to exist in White Dwarf, where there was lore written about a certain character just to kind of add to a bit more. So an orc commander, and then just a brief on who the character actually is. This thing is really reminding me of the tabletop stuff, so it just gives me a nice vibe. In general, yeah, the character's melee focused, he works around a lot of buffs, and is very anti-chaos centric, which again works out very well for the character. As the campaign progresses, it's pretty much a standard Cathay campaign, and you do have access to a new lord type, which unfortunately the translation mod seems to not be working 100% just yet. You still get all the effects, everything still works, so we don't even know what the actual lord is called, but it's a halberdier, and it focuses on either being some range bonus focus, as far as I've been testing, or melee bonus focus. Like, the character looks cool, and you're going to have a better close-up once we actually get to the units in general. This might be a bit of a deal breaker for people, but I'd say you could still play around and not have an issue, because the bonuses still work, and you just name the character whatever you want and you're pretty much golden. Maybe this changes by the time that the video goes live, however, so I'm recording quite late into the night. I've only just found out about this mod a few hours ago and I just started playing, and yeah, I just had a lot of fun, so I wanted to talk about it in a video. Now, what you would also notice is that you have access to a new building, which replaces your basic garrison building. Now, this is only available for your major cities so far. Your minor settlements will still be able to build walls, but it's got nothing to do with yin and yang. Instead, it's going to cost you gold maintenance, but drastically reduce the upkeep for your armies in the region, increased unit experience per turn, and also control. Think of this as building the defensive building of the Great Bastion, but in your actual settlements as you start moving further and further into the Northern Chaos Wastes, which I think is kind of cool. As yeah, you can still use these buildings when you're going into the south, and you can start focusing up on protecting Cathay, but I feel like these buildings do better as you start pushing further and further north to deal with Kolek, to deal with Village, to deal with, well, you know, Archeon, who's a bit of a strong character. There's also some new units, which we'll talk about later on in this video. Right now, I kind of want to start focusing on what the campaign feels like, as there's a few things to discuss. So I believe that the campaign is kind of pushing you to stay in the north, as your area inside of Cathay will get assaulted fairly often. Though, mind you, Meow Meow will come into effect to try and defend you, and the other factions too, but you will start at war with not only the rebels, but also Village, who is coming down for you, and you'll also be at war with the Vampire Coast faction and Lokia Felheart, so it's kind of pushing you away. The Village himself having a pretty tasty army at the very beginning. Obviously, keep in mind that the AI will be acting differently depending on your campaign and how you move around, as nothing is really hard programmed. At least I don't think anything is hard programmed. You can do a few battles and try keep the areas for yourself, however it will be kind of hectic, kind of dealing with both locations. I feel like it's still possible, depending on your difficulty and depending on your play skill, but overall, this is a very interesting campaign from what I've been playing through my own testing, and this stuff is just like footage that I've recorded now for actual video purposes. Moving forward and getting a decent amount of money, because actually I've got 4 armies running. They're not full stacks, but a still decent amount of cash for everything that I've got for it, because keep in mind supply lines are still a thing. It is fairly interesting. Yes, you'll still get the armies spawning in, but considering that you're building up garrisons and all that, the armies that spawn in for the mechanic kind of serve more as a way for you to power level your own lords more than anything else. Obviously, if you upgrade them as intended, because you'll still need the walls to defend yourself, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. I played my own campaign where I was moving forward and going straight for Archeon after I solidified myself in the Northern Wastes. It's definitely a very different campaign for Cathay, which I kind of like. It's nice being more aggressive and not so much defensive. If you're looking for a mod to add something completely different to Cathay, this kind of works out. You'll still have to go for the same mechanics. You'll still get caravans. You'll still have to deal with harmony and all that. But, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It's different, but interesting. Anyways, this is your legendary lord. He's also got a flying mount option too, which there's some lore about that when you start going for the skill points. He looks pretty cool. I'm not too sure what this is actually inspired by, but I really like the color scheme. It's something that I'm actually now really considering when the Cathay models come out in like 50 years time, if I'm still around. I might actually paint up some characters like this, because it's a really nice paint scheme. The whole black, red, and a little bit of orange is just really nice. This is your new generic lord option, which unfortunately doesn't have the name because the translation mod doesn't do that. But yeah, I mean, it looks cool. It's kind of like a Jade Lancer, but a little bit better. I like the weapon choice. It looks cool on the 2 mount options too. No flying mount, but I don't think it's kind of needed. Anti-large, armor piercing, fairly well armored. In general, the stats are pretty cool, and he's got an harmony amplifier too. The thing that you will have to notice is that he can be either yin or yang when you go to the recruitment screen, so keep that in mind when you're trying to actually build up armies. Rangers of the Great Bastion are a really nice unit because they are a missile cavalry, but they're hybrid, so they're decent at melee, they're decent at ranged, they can move around, they can skirmish really well. It's something that Cathay is kind of missing, which I understand is mostly due to the whole yin and yang harmony thing, but these are a yin unit anyway, and really just actually really, really good. It's nice to have some skirmish. If you're going to be dealing with a lot of chaos, you're going to need some skirmish. They move quite quickly. The poison attacks works out quite well. In general, having Vanguard too with a horse unit, which is fairly decently tiered too, works out very, very well. And they harmonize very well with your other cavalry unit, the Steel Pagoda, which are your heavy cav. I love the weapon option. It just looks really nice. It's great weapon unit, heavily armored, you know, armor piercing. They're damage dealers too. I love them. I honestly love them. This is something that I hope we get something similar officially in the future, because there's just something about the weapon and how they look with all that style is just awesome. There's definitely something that I might even kit bash when we eventually get models again in 50 years' time. And then finally the Yaksha, which looks absolutely amazing. So I've got a normal Terracotta Sentinel next to it just for comparison's sake. It's faster, it's got some spells to it, it looks really, really cool. I love the look of it. Again, black and orange, kind of awesome. I mean, this is something really special. It's definitely using the Gorgon animations, that's very sure. And I believe the back arms are actually the Cygor ones, the one holding the disc. Now, I'm not too sure what this is supposed to be representing. I'm imagining it's something from the mythology of that area, because, you know, Cathay is inspired by mythological China and Chinese history and so on. This is super, super cool. And, you know, the whole thing about extra terracotta stuff is just, in general, really nice, because it's a shame that we didn't get more. The normal Sentinels, okay, but a little bit of extra flavor would just be kind of nice, you know? But anyways, the mod itself and the translation mod can be found in the description below. If you're looking for another experience with Grand Cathay, it's interesting that most of the custom factions, I think, actually all the custom factions so far, have been focusing around Grand Cathay. Give it a try. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and let's start a bit of discussion. It's very different, and with all that being said, I'll see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.